Mythology. The aurora is a phenomenon that never ceases to mesmerize. Even the origin of the scientific name for the lights, Aurora Borealis, is fascinating. The term Aurora Borealis dates back to Galileo's times. Aurora is the Roman goddess of dawn, that every day races across the sky in her chariot, announcing the breaking of a new day. Borealis comes instead from the Greek Borea, the god of the northern wind. Aurora Borealis means therefore northern dawn, a fitting definition for the phenomenon that lights up the northern night sky. The northern lights have influenced folklore and stories across the Arctic through the ages. Before man could explain the origin of the auroras through science, people invented stories to make sense of their existence. Many found the lights captivating, some even heavenly. Others were not so positively impressed and painted them as terrifying omens. In northern Europe and the North Atlantic, the aurora has inspired some fascinating tales. The Vikings celebrated the lights, believing they were earthly manifestations of their gods. The Swedes thought of them as signs of abundant sea catches, and the Finns saw the lights as fire foxes playing in the snow. In Greenland, colorful spirits would be seen dancing in the sky, lighting up the winter nights. In Iceland, we believe the aurora would ease the pain at childbirth, but beware of the lights while expecting. Kids would be born cross-eyed if their mothers looked at the lights directly during pregnancy. A small number of traditions feared the northern lights instead, especially the rare red ones, telling stories of their dangers and evil. In North America, various populations believed the northern lights were the souls of departed ancestors, or even the spirits of the animals they hunted. Some traditions spoke of the northern lights as a sign from the gods, something like the visible mark of their existence and care for the humankind. In northern Asia, the lights were often connected to good luck and fertility, and their appearance was seen as a blessing from the skies. Whichever tale captures your imagination, one thing is certain: the northern lights had great meaning in ancient Nordic societies. In their various forms and conceptions, from spiritual to evil, the lights were seen as mysterious and fascinating as they still are today. Does the aurora produce sound? Observers have long wondered whether the aurora borealis produces any discernible sound. Settlements across northern latitudes reported for centuries that sound sometimes accompanied the northern lights. Witnesses told of a quiet, almost imperceptible crackling, whooshing or whizzing noise during particularly violent northern lights displays. Still in the 18th century, reports of exceptional red northern lights in Scotland, producing a noise as of huge armies battling in the sky, sparkled superstition and fear, and was later believed to have foretold the massacres of the French Revolution. Auroral noise became the subject of debate in the first decades of the 20th century, and was generally dismissed by scientists, and referred to as folklore or auditory illusion. Data recorded around that time suggested that the lights commonly took place 100 kilometers above the Earth, and very rarely below 80 kilometers. The idea that an aurora could transmit sound to the ground from up there was regarded as impossible. Canadian astronomer Clarence Chant became instead fascinated with auroral sounds reports from around the Arctic. In his research, he argued that the motion of the northern lights alters Earth's magnetic field and changes the electrification of the atmosphere, producing a crackling sound. According to this theory, sound would be created closer to the Earth's surface when the modified electrification meets objects on the ground, from clothes and trees to the cladding on bill lighting, much like static. Chant's paper went largely unnoticed in the 1920s, but is widely accepted by scientists today, although there's still debate as to how exactly the mechanism for producing the sound operates. The theory is also supported by the occasional reports of ozone smell, a metallic odor similar to an electrical spark, during extreme northern lights displays. In recent times, various attempts at recording the sound of the aurora have been made. In 2016, a Finnish study allegedly captured the sound made by the northern lights just 70 meters above ground level. If you want to hear the northern lights for yourself, keep in mind that this is an exceptional occurrence. You may have to spend a considerable amount of time in the polar regions, since sound is only present in 5% of all violent aurora, and mostly heard on the top of mountains, surrounded by just a few buildings.
But what is the story of Northern Lights, and who was the one who gave them the name Aurora Borealis? Because this is the proper name we call them. Because Northern Lights, it is the good way of saying we can call them Northern Lights, but sometimes it might for us be a bit confusing what exactly they are, because for example, Germans, they call them Polarlichter, which is very like maybe easier to understand, because northern lights coming in the polar regions, and a Polarlichter, so the lights in a polar are like is a better understanding than just the northern lights. Okay, but Aurora Borealis. So there was a Italian astronomer, a man who was watching the night sky, and he was pioneer in using telescope at his times. So he, for example, he was observing the moon, and he discovered the mountains in a moon, but he that time focused on the aurora. So it was in the year 1619, and the name of the man, this Italian astronomer, was Galileo Galilei. And this man, he was watching the night sky, and he decided to name this phenomenon, natural phenomenon, Aurora Borealis. So Aurora was the name of the goddess. It was the name of the mythology goddess who were bringing colors to a new dawn, and her she was bringing the new dawn. Her brother and sister was a sun and a moon, so she was racing in her rainbow chariots for the night sky, bringing up the colors. That's why Galileo decided to name those lights such a name, quite poetic. And boreal, on the other hand, was the north wind. So we have Aurora Borealis. So thanks to our science, we can understand this situation a bit more. So as we said before, everything starts from the sun. In the sun, in its core, we do have two extremes. One extreme is extreme pressure, and we also have extreme heat. And we have different kind of eruptions in a core of the sun, and those eruptions also comes up to the atmosphere of the sun, which we call chromosphere. So one type of this eruption is called solar flare. It takes about 7 to 9 minutes for it to be seen in the Earth, and it goes like a flash of light, like just in every direction. Second type of this eruption, we do have the coronal mass ejections. So basically, those are the particles, charged particles, electrons and protons being hurled away to the cosmos, and they travel like a wave through the cosmos, and we call them solar wind. So when they travel, it takes them about 2-3 days to get to the surface of the Earth, but they do not fall directly to our surface of the Earth. There is something which protects us, our invisible shield that protects us from those radiation, sun radiation, which we call magnetic field. So our magnetic field is trapping those particles, and they do slide on the north to the north and south pole, where our atmosphere is the weakest, and they fall into where magnetosphere is the weakest, and then they fall into our atmosphere when they collide with gases in our atmosphere. And every such a collision with the gas give us the flash of light, and they also have a different colors, because every gas and it depends of the altitude is giving us also a different color. So most of those collisions happen between 100-300 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. is the place where oxygen is